Well, good morning, everyone. I know it's unusual to see my face instead of Michael's, so thank you for allowing me to share briefly a message with you this morning. So, 2 weeks ago, in his message on concrete people, Michael spoke about breaking free from the concrete thinking that obstructs us from loving one another as the God beings we are. In Michael's words, love is the only thing that obliterates concrete, including our cemented opinions about other people, and we must recognize and wrestle with God's love manifest in disagreeable, perhaps even dangerous people and places. As usual, the wise and loving people of the current offered many ideas and insights from your own experience about what it means to love all people, especially those who are challenging to love and in challenging situations. I believe it was Kevin who spoke about separating the deed from the doer, the person from the behavior. Paul shared from his experience of working with families facing the imminent death of a loved one that sometimes the more compassionate act is letting go. Meg offered the phrase that she uses to alert people to their actions. That's between you and Jesus. And Val spoke about the importance of considering the cultural factors that influence people's behavior and the effects of trauma. Over here in the nosebleed section, I was thinking about actions and impact, the need for boundaries balanced with love. As Christians, I think we grapple with the idea that we should turn the other cheek, because even though we may be able to withstand that slap ourselves, we worry about the impact of the hurtful behavior on other people in our lives, on our families, our community, our country. Our love and tolerance of people can be clouded by our fear, our concerns over the harm that is being caused by concrete thinking when we individually or collectively witness actions aimed at diminishing our dignity. There's dis-ease, anger, outrage even, when we see people's needs and rights ignored or under attack. I want to love people, all people, even the concrete thinking ones. At the same time, I believe that I'm accountable for loving myself and others enough to recognize and respond when there's harm occurring. With that awareness, hopefully, I can navigate relationships in ways that build and repair. Questions that come to mind: are we loving ourselves and honoring our own needs? Are we honoring the needs of others? Are we seeing how the two are interconnected? I work in restorative justice, and when a harm has occurred through a crime or a behavior, if the individuals are willing, I bring together the person harmed, the person responsible, and supporters of each to discuss what happened, the impacts, and how to repair the harm as much as possible. I also go into schools and organizations to provide training in restorative practices. The idea is to help these organizations be proactive about building relationships and community among their staff and students and decreasing the need for punitive discipline. Restorative practices in the singular sense is the science of relationships and community, and having the processes in place that can restore and repair when that's needed. There's a lot of chipping through concrete in the work that I do. There's issues of harm and accountability, considering people's physical and emotional safety, and collectively determining what will make things as right as possible in tough situations. There's vulnerability and sometimes celebration as relationships are improved and repaired. As I was listening to the discussion about concrete people several weeks ago, it occurred to me that I really wanted to share with you a tool that helps me in my restorative work. It's what I call the relationship window. Originally called the social discipline window, it's meant to be a framework for how people in authority respond to behavior. I find that it applies to all relationships and how we communicate with one another, and it can be helpful to us in breaking through concrete. Before we look at it together, I'm going to just invite you to do a little reflection activity with me, and I'm going to leave some space so that you can think in response to these prompts. So think for a moment about a person in your life who has been really influential, someone you deeply respect. What's a word that comes to your mind to describe that person? Now think about how that person responded when you did something wrong or weren't living up to your potential, perhaps when you were being a concrete person. What word comes to mind to describe how that person treated you? So here's the relationship window. And I'd like you just to take a moment and see where you would place the person you were thinking of. Where would you place them on this chart? On one side, there's accountability, which could also be described as expectations, clarity, limit setting, discipline. On the other axis, support, encouragement, and nurture. Where would you situate the person you thought of earlier? Chances are they're probably here in the top right box, holding you to high accountability coupled with high support. And then if you want to look at those other boxes, maybe think of a word that describes a person in each of these, or maybe you can think of a person that fits in those other boxes of the chart. Let me help you out a little bit. Here are some descriptors we can use to describe each category: to, for, not, and with. To indicates high accountability and low support. It's my way or the highway, a very punitive mindset. For is permissive, anything goes, high support without accountability. Not means you're checked out, neglectful, not doing anything. And with is a combination of high support and high accountability. So you might consider where you are situated in this chart. What's your go-to response? Do you lean toward being punitive, permissive, neglectful, or restorative? Where do you want to be? There are a variety of factors, some beyond our control, that influence how we respond at any given time. For me, this framework helps me balance accountability to self and others with the support that is necessary for our growth as human beings in relationship to one another. Over the summer, we have a program that brings together teens from various high schools to learn community building and conflict resolution skills that they can then take back to their schools and utilize in their own lives as well. The teens are together for a month, and much of that time is spent in circle, so they get to know one another really well. Several of the participants this year were repeatedly being rude, especially to the female members of the group, making gestures and comments that were hurtful. They were violating the agreements that the group had made about how they would treat one another. And after multiple conversations with them, explaining how their behavior was impacting the group, we made the difficult decision to exit them from the program. They were shocked. They texted and called me with apologies. The permissive side of me wanted to let them back in to finish the remaining week of the program. But I stayed firm because I knew there needed to be a deeper learning. They needed to develop the awareness of the hurt they were causing. One of them even said to me, "Please give me a chance to show that I belong." To which I responded, "You absolutely belong, which is why this decision hurts. Let's find a way to work together again when the time is right." So we're now planning to do a circle to bring the group together to talk about what happened, to hear from each person, and find a way to repair the harm. Through this, hopefully they grow in awareness of the effects of their behavior, they feel reintegrated into the community, and the relationships among all are strengthened. So let's be real. We're not going to sit in the with box all the time. On any given day or hour of our day, we may spin around that relationship window like we're playing a game of Twister. However, we can set our compass to with in how we communicate. We can be mindful of how we respond to behaviors that challenge us. Recognize that we humans may crack a bit under pressure at times, but that we can lean into those times of discomfort and find our way back. We can be loving with ourselves, steadfast in our determination to love, and always growing. I sense energetic winds blowing to bring us concrete people and all, into a new era of love for one another, for our communities and our planet. In navigating difficult situations, challenging people, chipping away at concrete thinking that keeps people stuck or at odds with one another, I invite you to conjure up the relationship window in your mind and try to find your way to with. And our question today is, what might a shift toward with look like in your life?